What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as J-Monster. Thank you for joining me for another third Age Reforged replay battle. This one is a huge scrap. This is a large money, large unit settings battle. It is a 4 versus 4 on the Ithilien map, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. It's very bloody. There's a lot of really good team play in it, and yeah, I think this is going to be this is a real cracker. So without any further ado, let's get right into the army compositions, and then we can jump into the battle. I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright. Let's take a look at the army compositions, and then we can jump right into the replay. The first army is the Kingdom of Rune, or Kingdom, or Khanate, I don't know. They're an amalgamation of tribes that are collectively called runes. Maybe it's more like a confederation. In any case, I'm playing Rune, and I have 2 units of Variant Cataphracts, 1 unit of Brother of the Lance, all concentrated on my left flank, just to give me that unstoppable cavalry force to allow me to punch through my enemy's flank. I've also got 2 units of Nomadic Axemen, 1 here, 1 on the other side, in order to give me a little bit of an AP punch on either of my flanks to help me break my enemy's flanks. I've also got 3 units of Clan Guard, again, another nice AP unit in the center, very numerous. Also anti-cavalry. The idea behind that is that I've also got 3 units, I believe, of a looking flag rim in the center, which gives me a ton of AP, which will allow me to break their center as well. So it's a very devastating infantry force, not one that you want to mess around too much with. I've also got 2 units of Loci on rim here, 1 on both of my flanks, and that's just in the event that we have some cavalry charges. Cavalry charges don't always go directly into the front, and in the event that they do, I have some Clan Guard there who are also anti-cavalry to give me a little bit of help. So it's a very balanced infantry force. I've also got 2 units. Look at this. I loved Rules' build in the last video that we did so very much that I actually pretty much copied it with a few variations. So I've got some Campbell Shadow Guard here in the back. These guys are, again, AP anti-cavalry, so we've got a very devastating force here in terms of beating up infantry. I've also got a single unit of Ballista to give me that little bit of extra long-range fire support, and 3 units of Variag Bowmen, who, in addition to being exceptional archers, are also pretty good in melee and aren't likely to rout off the battlefield anytime soon. But that's pretty well it for my army, so let's go ahead, let's move over here and check out the army of my ally. This is the Kingdom of Arnor, being commanded by Boris Beetle. And just a quick side note, Boris Beetle is a YouTuber as well, so he's got a channel. I'm going to link that for you guys down in the description. It's worth going and checking out. He's a really nice guy and a great player, so yeah, definitely go and check his stuff out if you are hungry for a little bit more Total War content. But yes, he's commanding the Kingdom of Arnor. He's got a couple units of Arnor men-at-arms. 2 of them, or I believe just 1, never mind, here on this flank. He's got some Dunedain Rangers. He's got some Dunedain Steel Bowmen, which everybody loves. Everybody loves to hate, in any case. He's also got some bodyguards here. He's got a lot of heavy cavalry, some Knights of Anuminas, some dismounted Dunedain Knights as well. These are the dismounted Knights of Anuminas, essentially. Pretty decent heavy infantry. They will hold for a very long time, but they are not as good as some of the other factions' infantrymen. He's also got some battle-ready Dunedain. You can't see most of them here because they are hiding in the forest. He's also got some Arthedain men-at-arms who are pretty well the best of the best in terms of Arnor's regular line infantry. He's also got yet more Arthedain men-at-arms, more battle-ready Dunedain. That's pretty much most of his force. It's a fairly conventional Arnor force. I think he's got about 2 or 3 units of cav in there, alongside a large force of infantry and archers. Moving over here, and I have to say, I really like this formation. It's a little bit boxy, but you know what? It's a very balanced formation, and I think one that's pretty decent for the dwarves, given their low numbers and high cost. But this is the dwarves being commanded by Zack Almighty. He's got a couple units of Ironfoot Wargoats, 2, I believe, units of Khazad Orc Hunters here in the center. Actually, I think he's got more like 3. He's got some Khazad Warriors on the front. These guys are all shields, all heavy infantry, and that's because, well, you'll see why in a minute. He's also got some Sons of the Fallen, some Ironfoot Guard in the back here. These guys are not to be underestimated. I believe these have 2 HP and a ton of armor, so very difficult to overcome this infantry force. He's also got a unit of Ironfoot Hammer Guards, some Sons of Durin, and I mentioned the Wargoats already, a couple units of Ironfoot Wargoats, and Ballista over there in the center. So it's a very small force, but a very elite force, and not one that will easily be beaten down in melee combat. And look at this. This is a real treat. You do not see this faction very often in multiplayer battles because it's considered to be one of the weaker ones, but there are some strategies that you can use to make them exceptionally dangerous, especially at a pike line. These are the Free Peoples of Eridar, being commanded by Happy Meal. He's got a unit of Cardolan Knights here, a unit of the Grey Company. He's also got some Cardolan Footmen here that compose his center line. A ton of pikes in the center there. He's got some Cardolan Royal Guard, 1 here, 1 on the other flank. He's also got 2 or 3 units, I believe, of Dunedain Rangers alongside some Cardolan Elders. These guys are 2 HP, I believe. They're intended to be a bodyguard unit, so they are not easy to beat down in a skirmish fight. He's also got a unit of Dunedain bodyguards here to give him a little bit of extra cavalry punch. And that's pretty well it, except for a single unit, I believe, of gatekeepers. These are crossbowmen who are also fairly able heavy infantrymen as well. That are hiding over here on his right flank. Oh, never mind. He's got some Cardolan warband over here as well. Sorry, I didn't see these guys because they're kind of hiding. And the Cardolan warband they're just kind of like a throwaway spear unit. They're not really all that great, but they do give you a little bit of extra numbers. And yeah, definitely a worthy pick. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much everybody for this side. So let's go ahead and let's take a look rather at the opposing side. Opposite myself, we have the forces of Mordor being commanded by Mac Power. He's got a single unit of Númenórean. These are Shield Guard, Mounted Shield Guard. These guys are 2 HP, deadly on the charge, deadly in a prolonged melee, all around a really nice cavalry battering ram you can use in a variety of situations. He's also got some mounted Nazgul, which are essentially mounted trolls. These guys they cause like fear in enemy infantry. They have a ton of HP and a ton of armor-piercing damage as well. You can't see them over here, but he does have a unit of Melkor's Chosen. They're like black Númenóreans mounted on wargs. I think they have like 3 HP and armor-piercing and anti-cavalry as well to boot. So they are a very deadly addition to this very small but very elite cavalry force. He doesn't have the numbers that I do, but I think he has like the perfect counter pick to the runic cavalry. So really nicely brought selection of cavalry right there. He's also got 3 units of Uruk archers, really the best I think that the forces of Mordor have available to them, and they're all located here on his right flank. His main line consists mostly of Mornin Guard. Basically, they stretch across the horizon until you reach this point where you see 2 units of Uruks here, and they are backed up by a unit of Nazgul, a unit of Temple Inquisitors, and in the back here, a unit of Olokais. His strategy is definitely to stack one of his wings with a lot of offensive capabilities, and then break my wing, and then flank around and break the rest of my line. So a solid strategy, I think, and the rest of his forces really is just to hold it. And definitely the case when he's got his Númenórean Shadow Guard here in the center. These guys are very powerful spearmen, 2 HP, huge armor values rather, and they've got armor piercing to boot. So it's a really nice second line to fall back on that is going to lend itself really well to his overall strategy. His third line consists of a unit of Uruk Bodyguard, 2 HP, armor piercing, pretty decent for what they are, and that is where his general is hanging out, in fact. He's also got a single unit of Catapult here to top the whole cake off. That's pretty much it for Mordor, so let's move on and let's take a look at his ally here. This is Isengard, being commanded by Pussycat. He's got a couple units of Uruk Reavers. Again, it looks like kind of a rush army. He's got 2 or 3 units of Urukai infantry behind those Reavers, and behind them he's got some crossbows, and even farther behind them he's got some pikemen, which I'm sure he'll be able to use to counter threats as they arise, particularly from cavalry, and also to apply pressure to portions of the line that look like they'll be able to break. Pikemen are really good at pushing through weak points in lines. Yeah, so it seems like that's what the Isengard strategy is going to be. He's got a unit of Ballista, a unit of Nazgai. Look at these guys, very terrifying. This is Isengard's super unit. They've also got Saruman in the unit as well, although surprisingly enough, he's not the general. The general, in fact, is the man behind him, or the Urukai behind him in that beautiful Centurion helmet. He's also got some Trolls of the White Hand, who are even better than Olokai, I think it's fair to say. He's also got some Warg Riders and a unit of Champions of the White Hand. These guys are really elite, very deadly cavalry. This is definitely an anti-cavalry force, although most of his money has clearly gone into his infantry forces. Moving on over here, we have the forces of the High Elves being commanded by Blade 7171. He's got a unit of Eldarinway Lancers hanging out right here. These guys are very deadly in the charge, and honestly some of the best cavalry in the game. I think at this point they even outstrip the Imladris cavalry, who previously were, in previous patches rather, were a lot better than these guys. Over here we have some Eldarinway Swordsmen. He's got, I think, 3 or 4 units of them. He's got a really nice shock force here. He's also got some Imladris guards, one here, one on either flank, and a huge center line here composed of Eldarinway Spearmen. So obviously this is kind of his holding force here. I don't think he's expecting to move from this position. He's got a nice little bow-shaped formation that really facilitates a defensive strategy, but we'll see what the High Elves do. He's also got 3 units of Eldarinway Archers here in the center, backed up by another unit of Eldarinway Swordsmen. Over here on his left flank, he's got a unit of Mithlond Nobles and a couple units. This is actually a really surprising pick, just given how ineffective, not ineffective, but they're just not as good as they are in Rome Total War, the original. These Missile Cavalry, these are Imladris riders here. Again, not a little bit of a strange pick, not something you usually see. People usually opt for more heavy cavalry instead of mounted skirmishers. but honestly, they're not a terrible pick if you use them really well and use them for harassment in the early stages of the battle. He's also got a ballista here, being protected by his Imladris guards, and I think that's pretty well it for the High Elven forces. Let's move over here and take a look at the final attacking army. I don't know, we'll call them Team Red. We'll look at the final Team Red army. And these are these Sylvan Elves being commanded by Metalized. He's got a unit of Elder Pathfinders out here. Really nice position to support either his army or his allies' army as is needed. And it looks like he'll probably need it on the cavalry front because he only has the one unit of heavy cavalry. Over here we have a little bit of a noob box. We've got the Sylvan Elves forming up here with a huge dense line of spearmen. It looks like these guys are all in shield wall already. A couple units of Huron Ek, some Sylvan heavy spearmen, and on either flank we can see a unit of Fury Bang who are here to drop their stakes and then retreat back to the inside in the safety of the box. He's also got a unit of Huey Lang, some unlocalized placement text. These guys are actually shapeshifters, and they're kind of an unfinished unit at this point. We're going to see more from them, I think, in the new patch that will be coming out in the next week or so. And unfortunately, their textures don't seem to apply very well either because their faces are all messed up. But these guys are like 6 HP, 7 HP, something like that, and armor piercing to boot. And then we have the beautiful, the deadly Elder Palace Guard to hold down the right flank here. These guys do so much work unless you lose them stupidly like I have done in previous battles, but I'm sure in this kind of field battle they will serve Metalized very well. He's also got a back unit here or a back line rather, that consists of 2 units of Woodland Warriors. These guys are anti-armor, anti-cavalry, but very easily run down by cavalry or shot down by missiles. I think that's pretty well it, unless he's got some hidden units that I'm not seeing, and I don't think he does. Oh yeah, obviously he has a catapult in the center here. It's very stupid of me to forget that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, so let's go ahead and let's get right into the battle. So we're going to run things in slow motion for a little while, just because there's so much that happens in this battle in a very short period of time. It is a very fast, furious, bloody affair, so yeah, we're going to slow down just so we can enjoy all the little details. So both Mordor and myself now moving forward, looking to, looks like Mordor is going to position himself up here on this, it's a slight slope, but it will give his forces a little bit of an advantage, which I think they're going to desperately need in the face of my overwhelming infantry units. The Mordor forces definitely have the numbers. It looks like he has some Orc Raiders here. That's my bad. I forgot about them. They're probably hidden. But he definitely has the numbers, but I have numbers and quality, which is going to beat numbers any day of the week. Over here we have Isengard moving forward to engage the forces of Arnor. It looks like he's using these Uruk Reavers very wisely. They are here kind of to distract the attention of Boris Beetle's archers and take some casualties in lieu of their more important units like their regular Isengard line infantry. Over here, it looks like the dwarves and the elves are moving forward to attack each other as well, which is what I love to see. I love battles where everyone takes the initiative and just goes for it, just YOLOs and jumps on their enemy instead of hiding back and doing 20 minutes of maneuvering and skirmishing. So the looks like the High Elven line here is a little bit broken. These Imladris guards are a little bit out of position, but they're beginning to open fire now on the dwarves. I think he's going to go for, looks like, the Ironfoot Guard. These guys are really important infantry units, and to lose them like this to, oh wow, some beautiful volleys from the ballista is a little bit unfortunate. But honestly, there's only so many dwarven units to go around, so it was going to happen either way. Ironfoot Wargoats looking to get an early charge here off these Imladris Riders. Not sure this is the best idea. These guys do have some heavy armor and 2 HP, so they'll be able to weather the arrow storm for a little while, but you can already see them beginning to fall in the face of those High Elven skirmishers and these Imladris Riders who are just going to skirt away and deny those Wargoats the engagement. Over here we have the Elder Pathfinders now moving in to support his ally. This is exactly what they're positioned here very wisely by Metalized for, and he's moving in to bully these Ironfoot Wargoats back a little bit. You can see quite a lot of them have died out here in the field. Almost 10 of them have fallen already to the wicked arrows of the High Elven player. Over here, the Sylvan Elves, however, being a little bit sticky, and we can see some early casualties coming in here. I think that's largely due to this just packed formation of Dunedain. You can see them opening fire on the Elves, looking to weaken that flank, probably so that he can move in with his Cardolan forces to break it. A nice catapult shot, rather, going off here. Oh my goodness, it looks like there was a hidden unit here of what would appear to be Greenway Guards who are going to take that on the chin. So devastating for the Free Peoples of Eriador. The tightly packed High Elven formation really, defensive formation really proving to be very important at this point, because it's hard for the Free Peoples area to attack that, but it's even harder to sit back and get pelted by a catapult and still maintain discipline. Over here, it looks like we have a huge cavalry fight between myself and the forces of Mordor, and they have absolutely broken my cavalry. Look at this. Practically none of those Numenorians fell in combat, maybe about 4 of them, and they have almost destroyed this unit of cataphracts that's now down to, I think, about 1/3 of its strength. Over here, we did much better against the Melkor's Chosen, managed to hack down many of them, but with that archer support coming in from the Uruk-hai archers, it's really quickly starting to turn in favor of the Mordor cavalry. Not wanting to lose my entire cavalry force and leave this flank open, I'm going to retreat with my cav, and I'm moving up some anti-cavalry, anti-armor units to try and to draw my opponent into an engagement, given how weak my cavalry is and how badly he wants to wipe them out. I may have the opportunity to draw him into a bit of a trap here and use my Camel Shadow Guard to even the odds a little bit. Over here you can see I've moved in with my Brotherhood of the Lance. You can see some trolls coming in from the Isengard player, or not from the Isengard player, these are the Mordor trolls in fact, looking to get into my back lines. I'm countering with a movement from my infantry here. I've got some Clan Guard and some Camel Shadow Guard moving in to hold down these Olokai. An initial charge into them with my Brotherhood of the Lance, it's a risky affair, but it's definitely worth it. Trolls are extremely weak to cavalry charges, so we've kind of softened them up a little bit here, and then we're moving in with our infantry to hold them down, and we're going to move off very quickly with our Brotherhood of the Lance, freeing up that cavalry unit, potentially to support our ally here, who's really struggling, I think, against these Warg Riders. He's actually not doing too bad, but these Warg Riders are going to do a number on his cav, and the Isengard is now moving into combat, looking to do what they do best. When they get into this front line, it's going to be really difficult for these Honor Men-at-Arms to hold them back. Isengard definitely has the superior infantry in this engagement, so it's a really lucky thing for Arnor that he was able to win that cav engagement early on. Let's take a look here now, just at this line. Let's slow down just a little bit so we don't miss too much. But these trolls of the White Hand here, punching through the Arnor line. He's got his second line ready to engage, but this infantry fight is going to be a really, really tough affair for him. You can see him now moving in, Pussycat now moving in with his pike units, looking to, as I said, apply pressure where it is most needed. These pikes will be able to break through these Arthurian men-at-arms, no problem, and that will allow them to get in to the second line now. So we're very early in the battle, and Arnor is already struggling to take down the Isengard infantry. Over here, it seems like the dwarves have charged into combat, and it's absolute bedlam here on the lines. Unfortunately, he's left this flank wide open, so the High Elves are going to be able to flank them very easily. He's got some Ironfoot Guard moving in to fill that gap, but it's absolute craziness here, and these swordsmen backing up these Imladris Guards is a really nice counter to the heavily armed warriors of the Khazad. And that is exactly what they are doing, pushing back Zak Almighty's forces, and pretty soon I think this section of his line is going to crumble without any aids. Over here, the Dwarven Cavalry has really committed, alongside their ally, in fact, the Cardalin Knights here, charging into battle against the Eldarin Swordsmen. On the charge, these swordsmen will get devastated, but in a prolonged melee like this, they're definitely going to come out on top. And it looks like the Elves are going to be able to push back this flanking movement from the Dwarves, doing a great job here at shutting down the Dwarven player. Over here, we can see more of the Dwarven infantry moving in. We can see some of the Great Company moving in to support his ally, taking on what would appear the Imladris Riders, whose attention is focused elsewhere. Looks like they're trying to get a few pot shots over there at that Cardalin Royal Guard, and they're getting pummeled in return from the Imladris Skirmish Cavalry. So it looks like the High Elven player sees what is happening, is going to start to move back his Imladris Riders and get them out of there now that they've been completely devastated, down to, I think, a mere 23 from the, I believe, 40 that they had earlier, so almost half that unit now falling in battle. Because of the range superiority that the Sylvan Elves rather have, Eriador is now obliged to move in and engage them in close combat. And look at this, just devastation along this line, but it is definitely in favor of the High Elves, although Eriador has a really nice trick up his sleeve. He had a couple hidden units over there in the forest. These are the Cardalin Warband that I spoke of earlier, and they're moving in to, I would assume, to hold down the Woodland Warriors and prevent any cavalry support from coming in, while he moves in with some of his battle-ready Dunedain. You can see them right here alongside those Cardalin Royal Guard. Because of this compact, very small Sylvan Elf formation, rather, the Free Peoples of Eriador are going to be able to do this. They're going to be able to just hold them down for a long time with Greenway Guards and Cardalin Footmen, and move in from the flanks and just devastate the Sylvan Elf lines. So this is going to be a really decisive factor in the battle right here in this Sylvan Elf Free Peoples of Eriador engagement. Swooping back across the battlefield, you can see the Eldarin Lancers now getting into combat against some of the Ironfoot Wargoats, who are kind of pinned here between a couple units, or at least one unit of Eldarin Swordsmen and those Lancers. These guys are going to have a really hard time, and indeed, they're beginning to break. It looks like the Dwarves are going to lose 2/3 of their cavalry right here. That's going to be devastating for Zack Almighty's forces, and for his offensive effort against the High Elves. This is definitely in favor of those Elven warriors at this point. We can see some artillery fire coming in. Is he going to get anybody? No, it's going to miss entirely. These poor war goats here now have broken, and I don't think we're going to see too much more from them in this battle. Thankfully, the rest of the Ironfoot Guard have arrived to relieve their brothers here on the front lines. But honestly, this line here of Imladris Guard and Elder Enemy Swordsmen is not going to be easy to punch through. Even with the support here from the Ironfoot Guard. Over on this side, things going really, really badly for the Dwarves, it would appear. Just absolute craziness. It would appear that the Dwarves are somehow managing to penetrate through the Elven lines a little bit here, whereas the rest of them are just kind of standing back, not really doing a whole lot. Over here we can see that these poor Khazad Orc Hunters are just being devastated right now by the High Elven Archers. This is a really, really tough fight, I think, for the Dwarves, and having to fight uphill and charge into a hail of arrows shot by High Elves, no less. Although Zack Almighty has wisely kept his Hammer Guard here in the distance, and although it looks like there's some light casualties from some ballista fire, but these guys I think are going to be a decisive factor. The Hammer Guard can take on huge amounts of other units, assuming that they aren't surrounded. The ballista has taken some light casualties as well. One of their ballistas have actually gone down. But I think now that this ballista is in place to put down some counterfire, things could start to swing a little bit in favor of the Dwarves, potentially depending on how they use it. Taking a look at the Isengard's the Isengard Arnor engagement, rather, it seems that things are a little bit even. They are managing to beat back those trolls, thankfully. And these dismounted Dunedain Knights holding the line for a while, but it's going to be hard for them, I think, to fight those infantry and the pikemen as well. Over here on Arnor's left flank, however, it looks like they have managed to push back the Isengard infantry, and once they break this, they'll be able to get into the rear of the Isengard lines. That's going to be a big problem, especially for the Isengard skirmish units and their back lines, because they do not have any more cavalry to really deal with that infantry push that is going to come in just a few minutes here, I think, as well as these Knights of Inuminas who are just kind of lurking in the back, looking for an opportunity. I think they're going to sweep in the back and maybe get those crossbows, but we'll see what happens. Over here, we've done on my end, rather, we've done a really nice job, I think, at pushing back Mordor. Mordor really struggling in the face of my overwhelming numbers and just superiority in terms of infantry. We can see a bit of a cavalry fight going on in the back here. I've got my Brotherhood of the Lance just trying to scoot by these Numenorians, where he is moving in the rest of his cavalry to try and shut down that advance. Over here, it looks like there have been more cavalry engagements. We've got some Nazgul and some Numenorians in our backlines, which is really a nightmare. So my Variag Bowman kind of see what's happening, so I'm going to start to focus on his cavalry, who are just kind of looking the other direction at this point. If we can get some nice shots into the rear of those mounted Numenorians, then we might be able to shut down this cavalry advance before it can really become a menace for us. Let's go and take a look over here on the other side. Looks like my Brotherhood of the Lance are targeting the Temple Inquisitors. In fact, this is a really big deal. They are now pinned in place by a couple of fairly elite armor-piercing units, and they're now going to take a huge rear charge from the Brotherhood of the Lance. I think this is going to be enough to shut down his left flank. His left flank was really what I think the Mortar player was counting on to break my forces, and with this huge charge coming in from the rear, and the destruction, I think, of a lot of his other important units, like those trolls in the back. See the wreckage here. They fell to my infantry. Things are going to start to really turn in favor of my runic warriors. Yeah, especially now that strategy has been shut down. Let's go ahead and let's speed it up just a little bit here, although we'll slow it down just a tad as well. This Melkor's Chosen moving in to shut down my Brotherhood of the Lance, so I've got to pull them out of there as quickly as possible to avoid being trapped between the Melkor's Chosen and the Numenorian Shadow Guard. Potentially a micro mistake here, but I think I'm just trying to scoot them back around my lines. I don't want to just keep running back and forth here behind their lines getting chased. If I could draw them in behind my forces, then I might be able to set my own trap for them in the back. Over here, these mounted Numenorians charging into battle against my Ballista. My Ballista, unfortunately, not really managing to even get a shot off before it was silenced by these Numenorians. So a bit of a waste of money there on my part, and a really nicely chosen target, I think, by Mordor and his warriors. So he's now just trying to chase these guys down, charging right through my units of Variags, and I'm bringing my Brotherhood of the Lance to try and save my Ballista, if at all possible. Nice counter charge here, coming in from the Brotherhood of the Lance. I think that's going to be all she wrote for the Mountain Numenorian Shadow Guard. I'm bringing in some more of my Camel Shadow Guard to try and completely pin down their cavalry. I've got some mounted Nazgul over here who are down now to a mere 1 horseman. So the 9, or rather the 7, I suppose, that were in the unit, have been driven back, and things are looking really nicely here for Rune. The mortar infantry being driven back on basically all fronts for the Numenorian shield guard, rather, are not present. I've got a Uruk-hai bodyguard here that's really isolated, but they could potentially countercharge my low flag rim and maybe push them back. My line's looking a little bit thin here. And I think I'd be hard-pressed to drive them back. I definitely don't have any more reserves. They're all committed elsewhere, usually on my flanks. So yeah, that could be a potential saving grace for the Mordor forces, but really, his army has been shattered for the most part, and there's not really any coming back from this at this point. What remains of the Melkor is chosen, getting run down by my cavalry, and that's basically all she wrote for the Mordor army. Over here, looks like Arnor is kind of managing to pull it back from the brink a little bit. The Isengard is starting to lose a little bit of steam, now being outflanked here with their big pike block. This 1-2 punch is definitely vulnerable to being outflanked. That is the biggest weakness I think that it has. Over here, though, the Isengarders have punched right through the lines. This is where the trolls were present earlier. I think with the help of a little bit of these skirmishers here, that maybe I didn't see earlier. I don't know if I mentioned the skirmishers, but Isengard definitely has some. And they've managed to break the Arnor lines here. So they could start to turn it around if they have enough troops to capitalize on that gain. Over in the back here, we've got the bodyguards of Arnor taking on the Ballista. The Isengard player is going to respond in kind with a charge from his Nazgai. Those cavalrymen are going to get the hell out of there because the Nazgai are anti-cavalry and anti-armor. That is everything. That is every thing that those horsemen fear. So yeah, definitely a danger to them. So now he's managed to chase them off, and I think he's going to keep them here and potentially use them to defend his ballista, which maybe isn't the best idea. I don't know how important that ballista is going to be at this point, but he does have a huge gap here in these lines that those Nazgai would do well to exploit. Over here, Uruk Reavers and Battle Ready Dunedain squaring off alongside some Knights of Inuminas. The Isengard forces really struggling, I think, in the face of some of the more elite units available to Arnor. Over here, though, look at this. The dwarves have been devastated in the center. The Sons of the Fallen were committed over here on the Elven right flank, but I don't think they're going to be enough to take on this army all by themselves. And we've got some crossbows now firing into the rear of them. A bit of a mixed blessing, I think, for the High Elven player. Any shots that miss the Sons of the Fallen are going to land square in the middle of this High Elven line here, which may turn the tide of favor, or the tide of battle in favor of the Dwarven warriors. But I really don't think it's going to make all that much of a difference. Over here, the dwarves have been driven back on the dwarven right. The right flank has been completely shattered. And this is where I think the dwarves committed the most of their forces. We've got the Sons of Durin running this glorious commando charge in the back lines, looking to take on some of those Elder Ridway archers. Oh, it looks like the Eriador general, in fact, has fallen over here to the might of the Sylvan Elves. It's probably on the Sylvan Elf right flank. Yeah, look at this. The Free Bills of Eriador now beginning to be driven back. Let's see if this... what have we got in the back here? Some Champions of the White Hand looking to get into the rear of these Cardolan footmen. That could be enough to rout their center. Look at this. We've got some wavering here that could be devastating for the Eriador player. But over here, it looks like Eriador has the advantage. They've managed to kind of break through, taking on the unlocalized placement text, the skin changers, doing really well. Looks like we saw the demise of the Elven cavalry here, fighting against some Cardolan warbands. I think there was a cavalry charge in the back that managed to wipe out some of these woodland warriors. Unfortunately, we're a little bit busy elsewhere. Charge from the Dunedain bodyguards, taking on what remains of the Hiri Bang, and I think the catapult crew as well, though I think they might have already been devastated by a unit of Cardolan Royal Guard that managed to penetrate the Elven lines. It's really kind of in the balance here. Look at this, some routing. This could start to change things around a whole lot. We've got the Dwarven cavalry over here. If these guys can get in behind the Sylvan Elves, they could save their ally, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. They got to be careful, though. Got to watch out for those stakes. Definitely don't want to... This is actually really nice positioning on Metalized part now that I think about it. No one is going to want to hammer and anvil a unit that is hiding in amongst stakes. So that's a really nice little trick there to keep his Elder Palace Guard alive for much longer. So we're going to see a huge hammer and anvil charge coming in from the dwarves here. We can't miss this. Let's go ahead and let's speed it up just a bit. Almost the dwarves are stopping. A little bit of a micro mistake here by Zach Almighty. These guys are definitely in position though. Look at this. This could be the game changer right here. This could be everything Eriador needs to beat the Sylvan Elves. Look at that devastating charge into the rear of those spearmen who are just taking horrendous casualties in the face of the hammer guard. Wow, look at that. Oh my god, almost half the unit has now died in the face of that charge. I think this is going to be everything the Eriador needs to break that Elven left flank and be able to roll up the rest of the Sylvan Elf lines. So now, oops, sorry about that. With the presence of those Dwarven warriors in the back of the Sylvan Elves line, I think that's going to be the decisive factor there that turns the tide in favor of Eriador. So that engagement really now in favor of the blue team's forces. Over here, though, the High Elves have done a really admirable job at taking on the Dwarves. But look at this. I brought in my Brotherhood of the Lance just to harry them a little bit, charging into the rear of these Umlandris guards. And I think, yes, look at this. This is a really, really juicy target here. That's going to be our next one. Let's go ahead. Let's speed it up just a little bit. Big charge coming in from those Brotherhood of the Lance. Look at this. These poor Elder Inway archers just going to get devastated. Oh, man. We pushed all the way through. And that's basically all she wrote for that very powerful, very expensive unit of skirmishers. Countercharge now from the Elder Inway Spearman. Going to see off my cavalry unit, but it's too little, too late, I think, for the High Elven forces. I can see him moving in with some Elder Inway swordsmen. I know that these guys are weak to cavalry charges, so I think this is the point where I turn around. Oh, no, maybe I'm going for something else. Maybe I really want to get those Elder Inway archers. Let's see what I do. Oh, no, we're going in for a flank charge on the rest of the Elder Inway, looking to take down as many of his skirmishers as possible. This is really a big advantage in the late game. If you have some skirmishers left that are fairly healthy, then things are going to go really badly for you. We got some allied fire coming in from the Dunine Rangers, actually claiming the lives of a few of my Brotherhood of the Lance. Bit of a micro mistake here. I had clicked these guys out, but unfortunately, they got themselves stuck back in. So now, realizing my mistake, I'm going to get out of there with my Brotherhood of the Lance as quickly as possible to having taken a fair amount of casualties in return. So let's go ahead and let's slow it down just a little bit, move back over here, and see how Arnor is doing against the forces of Isengard. It's just been a bloody struggle here. It's hard to declare a clear victor, although in the center it appears that the Dunedain Knights now have held out long enough for the tide of battle to turn against the Isengarders. So Isengard's really struggling here to take down Arnor, and I think Arnor is going to take this engagement as well. So our right flank is definitely very secure. We've taken down Mordor, just surrounding what remains of his forces. These Númenórean Shield Guard really got nowhere to go. They're going to stand and fight to the end, however. Another pocket of them over here, trying to fight back my units of Lokflag Rim and Clan Guard. Over on this end, I've got some Lok-Sion Rim taking on the Uruk-hai Bodyguard, and they're doing a great job at cutting down my Lok-Sion Rim. This is not a fight that these guys can win. They are spear units fighting AP swordmen, so it's really, really difficult for them. The plan is to try and break through with the Axemen, come around from the rear, but I don't think I'm going to have the opportunity to do that. I think the presence of these Uruk-hai archers here is going to oblige my my Axemen to charge them and not be able to come to the aid of the Lok-Sion Rim where they are most needed. But for the most part, Mordor was really quite badly defeated by my army, mostly due to the fact that I was able to occupy their cavalry and deal enough damage to them long enough that their holding force just kind of got slaughtered, and their left flank got shut down, and that's where all of their offensive power was. So unfortunately, it just didn't go as well for Mordor as could have been hoped, but it was a solid strategy to use against Rune, and he really counterpicked some of my units quite nicely. So Arnor just reforming now, trying to mop up what remains of Arnor, or of Isengard rather. But the High Elves have a very significant force still left to them as well. Oh no! My poor general. It looks like that was some of the artillery shots from the High Elven Ballista right there, taking the life of my general. But it's really just the center force here, I think, that's left standing. The Sylvan Elves have probably been mopped up. More or less at this point. You can see them now surrounded basically everywhere, and yeah, the battle has really turned against these guys, and Metalize just doesn't have any forces left to counter these Ironfoot Hammer Guard. Unfortunately, he lost his cavalry. That was his biggest chance, I think, of holding these Hammer Guard back, and that chance was taken from him by some really nice positional play, I think, by the Free Peoples of Eriador. He weakened the flank that he wanted to attack, and then attacked it with an overwhelming advantage, brought everything in that he needed to defeat them. So really nice, very deliberate action there on the part of the Free Peoples of Eriador. Another big hammer and anvil charge coming in from the rear. These dwarven hammer guards just absolutely relentless. They have lost a fair amount charging into spearmen, but honestly, it has been worth it for them every step of the way. The Sylvan Elves now have nothing left to bring against the the combined might of the dwarves and Eriador. There's some Elder Palace Guard here, and they will do very well before they are overcome, but unfortunately, really nothing left for the Sylvan Elves in this battle. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and speed it up just a tad. The High Elves now moving forward. Looks like they're trying to chase out what remains of my Brother of the Lance, who have done a reasonable amount of damage to them. Still got some Eldorman Lancers in the area, and they could potentially be used to great effect to charge into the rear of the Free Peoples of Eriador. And they do not have their general, so that could very quickly provoke a mass rout if pressure is applied in the right area. But it doesn't look like the High Elves see that opportunity. I think they're just going to go and try and shut down my Brotherhood of the Lance. Definitely have their attention focused on them for the time being. It's going to be a bit of an even fight, I think, although my guys are now very tired. But on the charge, I think my Brotherhood of the Lance are a little bit better, and it seems like things are starting to turn against these poor High Elves. And the High Elves really kind of constrained in terms of what they are able to do. And there goes the Elven General as well. Very unfortunate. So it looks like Team Blue is going to take it on this day. Oh, wow. There goes the Sylvan Elf General as well. A couple generals falling very quickly. You can see some artillery shots, though, coming in from the rear of the High Elven player. And look at that. The other general falling in very quick succession. So all three of the red team's generals, they managed to make it quite a long time, but they fell in rapid succession at this late stage of the battle. But I did see some artillery shots coming in from the High Elven Ballista. A really nice target that he's picked here. Look at this. Oh, fortunately no one got hit that time, but that is a nice blob to fire into. Unfortunately, he doesn't have his Lancers anymore. If he was using that fire ammunition to attack these guys here and then charged in with his Lancers as a follow-up, he might have been able to break this flank, although who can say? It's not really all that certain. So we got some gatekeepers here who are trying to support this engagement here. These Sons of the Fallen now taking on a couple units of the High Elves. These Imlanders guards here backed up by some Mithlon nobles, but there's just not enough of the High Elves left at this point to, I think, to overcome this very elite unit of dwarves. They're now these High Elves now getting peppered in the side and rear by the gatekeepers from Eriador over there. And I'm not too sure what's happening over here. I don't think our army is going to be able to get over to the left flank. It is in time to really make a difference. We're just still trying to mop up what remains of the enemy forces over here. I think Isengard may have some hidden units somewhere over here, which I'm sure he will use to great effect at some point in the future. Got some Berserkers, I think. I might have missed them because they were hiding. Oh, and there goes the final red team general, the Isengard general, now falling in combat. But, oh, I think we got some movement over here. What do we have? It looks like some Uruk-hai archers from Mac Power, probably moving in to visit his ally, who I think is hiding his Berserkers over here in this little copse. But we'll see in just a moment. We're going to go ahead and we're going to speed it up just a little bit. Yeah, really not too much left for these guys over here, though they might be able to take down... they could potentially take down the forces of Arnor, but I don't think they'll be able to accomplish too much more than that. Brutal shots here, though. Or brutal devastation all along this line. This whole battlefield has really just become a graveyard very quickly. But we'll try and find Isengard's forces in just a moment. Let's see how the High Elves are doing over here against the dwarves. Nice surround that they have on the Sons of the Fallen, but it's going to take them quite a while to be able to take these guys down. And you can see my Brotherhood of the Lance now charging into combat. What remains of them down to a mere five horsemen. One of them now falling in combat, so we're now down to 4. The Elves are really hard pressed here, and you have what remains of the Free Peoples of Eriador now moving in to support them as well. These Sylvan Elves aren't going to last for too much longer, although it's very surprising that they've managed to stick around for as long as they have already. But let's speed that up just a tad. And there you have it. The Sylvan Elves now routing off the field. They put up a tremendous struggle here, but I think a lot of it had to do with their formation and how few troops they had. It was a great idea for bringing Eriador to him, but a little bit of teamwork there managed to see the Sylvan Elves off of the field. He would have beaten Eriador by himself, but the timely intervention of those Hammer Guard really saved the day. And but over on this right flank, he was really easily able to be surrounded. So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B in that case, I think. Looks like everything that remains of the Elves now fleeing from the field. I think we might see what remains of those Berserkers. Maybe... I don't know. Oh, here they are. Yes, here they are. We've managed to find them. These Berserkers charging into battle against the dismounted Dunedain. Boris Beetle looking to get a nice surround here on these Berserkers, but I think these Berserkers are fresh. all these units are tired and battle weary. So unaided, these guys are going to be in a lot of trouble. They will be able to cut down these knights like nobody's business. Boris Beetle definitely knows that this is the case. He's now charging into battle with some of his Dune 9 Steel Bowmen, backed up by what remains of his infantrymen. But another unit of Berserkers coming in, getting a nice flank charge here off of these Dune 9 Knights. Look at that. Devastation for these poor units. The Dune 9 Rangers still trying to do their best to shoot those guys down, but Isengard actually still has some fairly significant contingents of Uruk-hai crossbowmen at this point. Got a couple units here, and it's one back here that is being, it's being currently rushed by my Variag bowmen. So I can see how much trouble, I guess, my Ornar ally is in. So I'm moving up with my infantry and some units as well to support him on the infantry front. And there goes the Ornar general. Unfortunate for him, he almost made it to the end of the battle, but fell in the last few moments. But at the same time, moving into to support my allies' infantry engagement, I'm also moving up with some of my Luxian Rim and my other units to take on these crossbows. I've also got a single unit, or no, 2 units of Brotherhood of the Lance left inside this cavalry regiment, moving in to try and silence these crossbows. But Pussycat has put them in defensive formation, and they're going to be able to continue to fire despite my harassment. Ornar has the same idea. He likes the cut of my jib, I suppose, moving in with his bodyguard to try and silence this unit of crossbows. This unit of crossbows now getting caught by my Luxian Rim, not able to get away in time, unfortunately for them. And they're very shortly going to start to rout, I believe. Well, let's find out. Find out if we can do it. Yes, there it is. There's the route. That's basically the end of the Isengard support units. I think they're... Oops, there we go. I think they're Berserkers now, completely surrounded. This is going to be the last stand of Team Red's warriors. Let's go ahead and let's speed it up just a little bit here. Witness these Berserkers. They will definitely be going to Valhalla after this, if such a place exists for orcs. Almost like Eridar managed to rush over here with what remains of his units. So we've got kind of like a 3-way allied front here against those what remains of those Isengard Berserkers. And that's pretty well the end of the battle.
They run like children.
There's a couple of units, I think. There's like 3 Elder Ridway archers here that we're going to run down very shortly. So I'm going to fast forward just a little bit, and I'll see you guys in a moment. So here it is, the final stand of a literal handful of High Elven archers who've retreated back to this camp ridge and are raining death and destruction down upon these Greenway guards. They managed to get a few kills. You can see there's a few bodies lining the way back there, but unfortunately for them, there's not a whole lot that they can do in the face of such a numerous foe. So those 2 High Elven archers getting cut down very quickly by the Greenway guards, and look at this, my final unit of Brotherhood of the Lance moving in to skewer one of these High Elven archers, and that is going to be the end of Team Red's forces. So a great game to everybody involved. I think there was a few setbacks, especially it appeared on our right flank, so I suppose that would be the enemy left. We managed to shut down Mordor and Isengard, which allowed us to bring a lot of our very important units like our cavalry and other such things to bear against the Sylvan Elves. The Sylvan Elves definitely would have won that engagement, I think, without the intervention of those Hammer Guard, but unfortunately for them, and unfortunately for our team, the Dwarves very wisely kept his very powerful Hammer Guard units back in reserve and used them where they were most needed. But yeah, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Coming up next, we're going to have a 1212 AD replay battle that was sent in to me by Blood Magpie. And from what I have seen, it is going to be so cool, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. Following that, we're going to try and finish off some of our regular series so we can focus a little bit more on replays for the time being. And I also want to finish, and I think a lot of the newer people on the channel maybe really don't know about the series, but I also want to finish my Winds of Magic series, which is a little lore series and a little bit of a primer, I suppose, for people that play Warhammer Total War. So yeah, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.